welcome to episode 96 of Missle Industries Ford Falcon 351 project. Now today is power steering evaluation day and I've made a startling discovery, and it started probably about 2 weeks ago when I tested the steering box in the car before I pulled it out, which we'll cut to now. So while I was researching last night how to get one of these power steering boxes in and out of a V8 XC Falcon, I came across a bit of discussion about 16:1 16:1 steering boxes versus 20:1 steering boxes, the pros and the cons. And I thought to myself, I have no idea how many turns lock to lock this car's steering box is, because it's only ever been terrible, and turns lock to lock is beyond me. So before I go pulling it all apart, I thought it'd be a good idea to figure out how many turns lock to lock it was stock. Let's find out. Okay, that's full lock to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 turns lock to lock steering box. That's less shit than my E30 was when it was factory. So hopefully it's a 4 turns lock to lock power steering box as well, and I get a bit more steering response because I can actually turn it quickly. That'd be nice. If we test the steering out as it sits now, and it's fully turned to the left, we go 1, 2, 2 1/4. It's like a Formula 1 car. What I've actually discovered is that the steering is way better than that in terms of steering box ratios, because this car appears to have a 2.5 turns lock to lock steering box now. Now I don't know if that's because it's got an XF box in it or what, because I just don't know enough about these old Ford steering box ratios to tell anything otherwise. I mean, from what I read on the internet, they are either 5 turns lock to lock or 4 turns lock to lock. And one resource did say that the XF had a variable speed power steering box in it, but when I asked the reconditioning guy, he didn't know anything about that. So what I need to do today is test this car out and see if the 2.5 turns lock to lock that it indeed seems to have is as awesome as it sounds. As I mentioned earlier in this clip, back when I first did the 4 turns lock to lock, that's actually better than that E30 was when it was factory, because the E30 had a 4.4 turns lock to lock power steering rack and it was rubbish. And a 4 turns lock to lock is still an improvement over that. But the funny thing is, that car has a 3 turns lock to lock power steering rack in it, and it's awesome. So this car could be even better again, and it's not even supposed to be that awesome because it's an old school muscle car. Well, I guess we'll wait and see. Oh, it's so effortless! in a word, effortless. It steers like a new car. It's a bit forklift-like, but I kind of expected that considering that's just what the cars of the time were like. A nice quick steering. Worth every cent. Makes driving the car feel intuitive now, because you expect the steering to behave the way that would if you drove any other car, rather than having to think about getting your shoulder into it to get it to turn. That was money well spent. Summary time for episode 96 power steering test run. It worked a treat. It feels a bit numb like you'd expect for an 80th power steering car, but I'll take that any day over steering you need forearms like Popeye to drive, and that's to drive carefully. With the power steering the way it is now, you can actually feel a bit more cavalier about coming up to intersections or negotiating roundabouts because you know the car will steer. Now, with this current setup with belts and pulleys and this and that, I was concerned that I'd get a bit of belt slip here and there, but in that short test drive today, it was flawless. I've got to say though, I might have missed my cool weather driving opportunity because it's hot today. I'm actually pretty sweaty. One last thing to do.